So we're going to start off with 4 myths, and we created these because marketing is changing and what we call the FOMO wave is starting to crash. I think last decade, as you'll see, there was a lot of new cool things and everybody was like wanting to dive in without really understanding how to do it the right way. And you know, a lot of these tools were very powerful, still are very powerful, but they just needed to be navigated the right way. So the first one we're going to talk about is inbound. So if anyone's not familiar with inbound marketing, it's a term coined by a software company called HubSpot. They're out of Boston, and they are a marketing automation software, and they've really evolved over the years, but they coined this term inbound based on this idea that they felt like people didn't want to be advertised to anymore. They didn't feel people wanted to be sold to anymore. What they felt like was people were going to make buying decisions solely by finding companies that created the type of content that would resonate with them, and then companies would take this content and nurture these prospects into the point where when they were ready to buy, that's when they would jump in. Okay, so the myth that we have here is if you post it, they will come. So here's how HubSpot first explained inbound. You know, they've got attract, convert, close, delight, which is actually pretty accurate. You'll see we do something almost exactly like this. And on the delight side, it makes a lot of sense. You delight your customers by posting stuff on social media. You create smart content, surveys, get some feedback. You close your customers through having sophisticated CRM, email with automated workflows. So you can make sure that you're continuing to nurture prospects that way. And you can convert them through forms and calls to action and landing pages. But what really seemed off to me was always attract. So this is how they used to explain it. You would attract customers by blogging, by keywords. It's not even an action, and through social publishing, which is so the idea of like, all right, well, let's write a bunch of blogs, let's post a bunch of stuff on social media, and then everyone's just going to come in and just love what we're doing. I thought was just not going to work, and it didn't work. HubSpot created a agency group. We're now a HubSpot agency. I'll show you why in a minute. But back then, they were really pushing agencies to ride this content wave and really work within these retainers that were honestly a little crazy. I know it's hard to see up here, so I'll just kind of talk about what this $8,000 package would be. So this would be a $96,000 a year investment. You get 10 blog articles a month. You get a social media community manager, you get email marketing, and you get reporting, and then you get strategy and inbound marketing campaigns, which are just fancy ways of trying to make yourself sound a little bit better than you are. So $8,000 a month, $96,000 a year for a bunch of content, post it and they will come. I really feel like that's going to lead to a lot of ROI problems, right? And you don't have to take it from me, take it from HubSpot, because they changed their model completely. They added marketing, sales, and service to the idea of inbound. We're just going to concentrate on marketing and sales here. And the attract tools are much different. Attract tools from the sales side, calling, prospecting, creating email templates, scheduling meetings, conversational bots. And then over here, you've got ads, which, I mean, we've all been on our phone. We're all on social media. We see ads all the time. They tend to be best on Instagram, right? Like, I feel like every time you're like, looking through, God, they know me. Then, video ads, still, I'm sure some blogging, social media, content strategy, whatever. But the idea is that you can't just post a bunch of content and then you're going to be able to go through this process successfully. So the next myth we're going to talk about is that people who love your company will naturally want to interact with it daily on social media. Okay? So as social media really started ramping up at the beginning of this decade, it was like the new coolest thing ever. It was going to change how we interacted, how we communicated, and that's totally true. It absolutely did. It changed everything. But everybody, it kind of came that FOMO of like, oh my gosh, we got to do this, we got to do that, we got to, put all of our chips in. So B2B businesses were like, let's do it all. Let's go. I had a client in 2015 who was scolding me saying, listen, man, why do I have to find out about Meerkat? Why aren't we doing anything on Meerkat right now? Okay. I don't know, because it didn't exist 3 weeks later. But really what they should have done is listen to this lady. That's my mom. And she has this phrase that I grew up with, which there's a time and place for everything. okay? And this is why I would, spend my days up in forts with my friends cursing, but I would never do it at school. This is why my son, my 5-year-old son, will just walk away from the dinner table, come back and say, sorry everybody, I had to toot, but I'm not allowed to toot in front of girls. So, the idea is that there was a great time and there was a great place, and we kind of figured this out later in the decade. The Content Marketing Institute did a study that looked at the channels that B2B marketers use to distribute content rated by importance to their overall content marketing success. And you see email and print up there, but LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and SlideShare, those 4 tended to be the most effective for B2B companies, right? And we all know in our daily lives, it's much more popular to use Facebook and Instagram. More people are using that on the day-to-day, but it really is a little bit more on the B2C. And and so that was an area where social media was new, but everybody wasn't exactly sure how they were going to use it. The third myth was that purchasing influence comes from people with a large social media following. So let's hit up the word influence real fast. It's the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. But when we think of influencer, what do we think of? All right, people on Instagram who've got a ton of followers, and that's not wrong. But there's stuff that you need to consider when you want to dive into influencer marketing, especially as a B2B company. Now, the first stat is that 78% of social influencers for brand collaborations worldwide use Instagram as their primary social media platform. So that directly kind of contradicts what we recognize was effective for B2B companies, just the platform Instagram in general. So the next one is about how 90% of companies that invest in influencer marketing measure their campaign success by engagement. And we're going to talk a little bit later in the presentation about engagement, what we call brand metrics, and how they don't really matter unless you understand their relationship to conversion metrics. So engagement numbers always make us feel good, likes, comments, we always feel good when we see those things, but they don't always necessarily move the needle. And I'm excited to talk a little bit more about that later on. But 76% of businesses that utilize influencer marketing consider determining the ROI of my influencer marketing programs their biggest challenge. Well, that's a pretty big challenge to me. If you're going to be investing in marketing, I think you want to at least understand what a return looks like and how it could become possible. So, that was from Linquia influencer marketing study in 2018. So let's rethink influence a little bit for B2B as thought leadership. Okay, the PR firm Edelman did a study at the beginning of 2019 on thought leadership and how it affects B2B buying, and they found out that 58% of B2B decision makers made buying decisions based on thought leadership. All right, similar stats, 47% of C-suite executives shared contact information after reading thought leadership, and 61% of C-suite executives are willing to pay a premium to work with an organization that they feel like has a clear vision. So like I said, that was from Edelman. I think that really sums up where influence can come from B2B marketing decisions through real thought leadership. Myth 4 is that Google and Facebook like you, the consumer, more than me, the advertiser. This is absolutely not true. This is what Google AdWords used to look like, okay? They were on the side, they were at the top. Absolutely none of us ever wanted to click on them because we thought they were spammy ads, right? The idea behind Google was that they were going to put the most organic content that would answer and will fulfill the promise of your query right at the top. That's what they were going to do. Unfortunately, they realized that their ad platform was starting to lose money to Facebook, and they decided to change it all. So this is a top of the fold search for a search engine optimization agency. So if you've invested in search engine optimization over the years, and you became the search engine optimization agency that was so good at what you did that you got the top spot on Google, well, nobody would even see it unless they go below the fold, because there's these 4 ads that really are answering this query, all right? It really is. And it's even worse on mobile. I mean, it's really, really hard to be able to see any organic results unless you're in a really niche search, especially location searches really pop up a lot more on Google. So it's kind of understanding what search marketing is really becoming, and instead of just being like, we got to be on the top of a Google search, because that's really changed. Now, it changed because Facebook really started taking market share when it came to digital advertising. And they did it in 2012 with this beautiful idea of EdgeRank. This was the algorithm this was going to change your life, okay? They knew that one day in 2010, there was a little spot you were at lunch, and they promised you a free soda if you just liked their page on Facebook. And they know that you don't really like those people. You don't want to see their content every day. What you want to see the engagements. You want to see the cute puppies, the cute babies. That's what you care about the most. So they created this awesome algorithm so that only the most important, most engaging things were in your feed. And that's how they sold it to you, and it was amazing, right? No, they were just building out their ad platform on a lie by holding brands hostage, okay? Because now in 2019, only 6.4% of a business page's likes see their content on average. So that means if organically you got 1,000 people to become your biggest fan, like you on Facebook, interact with your content every single day, 64 of them would see your content, unless you paid Facebook some money, and then they could make sure that everybody who likes your page could see it, as long as you paid them enough money. And I think this was a really big, I think there was this thread between a lot of these myths, was that everything was going to become this beautiful, euphoric, organic world where sales and advertising were going to kind of be minimalized, and we were going to be able to create great content and create great brand messaging, and people were going to just resonate to it, and they were going to flock there. And unfortunately, I think some businesses kind of got burned by a lot of this.